Hello learners, this is Dr. Biplab Jamatia, Professor, School of Health Sciences, and your course coordinator for this course on lifestyle and non-communicable diseases. You have already learned about the various non-communicable diseases, their risk factors, and the preventive measures that can be adopted. Let us now talk about few more case studies. In these sessions, we shall learn more about physical activity and sedentary habits, their current burden, guidelines, and barriers for physical activity. We have with us Dr. Chetan Bangale, Assistant Professor, Department of Pharmacology, Lady Hardinge Medical College, New Delhi. Welcome, Dr. Chetan Bangale.
Thank you, sir.
What are the objectives of these sessions?
Sir, after completing the session, you will be able to define the physical activity and sedentary habits, discuss the current burden due to decreased physical activity, discuss the guidelines about the physical activity and sedentary habits, describe the various barriers to the physical activity.
What is physical activity and sedentary habits?
Physical activity and sedentary behavior are the two contrasting lifestyle factors. Physical activity refers to any bodily movement produced by the skeletal muscle that results in the energy expenditure. It includes exercise, sports, occupational tasks, as well as the daily activities like walking or gardening. Sedentary behavior, on the other hand, is defined as any waking activity characterized by the low energy expenditure, that is less than 1.5 metabolic equivalents. So, metabolic equivalents, these are the unit. One metabolic equivalent is a unit which is consumed during the rest. So, less than 1.5 metabolic equivalent is considered as a sedentary behavior. It includes the watching television, using a computer, or the prolonged sitting at work.
Why knowing about physical activity is important?
Globally, there is a decline in the physical activity levels and rise in the sedimentary habits due to increasing urbanization, technical advancements, and lifestyle changes. Around 1.4 billion adults, that is 27% of the world's adult population, do not meet the recommended level of the physical activity. 81% of the adolescent boys and girls age 11 to 17 years spend less than 1 hour a day doing moderate to vigorous intensive physical activity. Less physical activity is associated with diseases like obesity, cardiovascular diseases, there is increased risk of cancer, and there are associated mental health problems.
What is the current health burden due to decreased physical activity?
Physical inactivity is a fourth leading risk factor for the mortality worldwide. Inactive individuals have the 20 to 30% higher risk of heart disease. 112% increased risk of the diabetes is seen in the individual with excessive sedimentary times, and a prolonged sedimentary time is linked to the depression, anxiety, and cognitive decline. Physical inactivity is also associated with 10% of the colon and breast cancers worldwide.
Beside health, are there any other burden due to the physical inactivity?
Physical inactivity has an economic burden. According to 2016 study, it cost the global economy around 67.5 billion per year. There are also economic losses associated with the physical inactivity. It can be direct economical losses due to healthcare related expenditures, as well as the indirect economic losses due to decreased productivity. Globally, almost 500 million new cases of the preventable non-communicable diseases will occur between 2020 to 30. It will incur the treatment cost of just over $300 billion.
Are there any guidelines for physical activity?
Yes, sir. According to WHO, that is World Health Organization, has given general guidelines for all age groups. WHO has also given the age-specific guidelines for the infants, toddlers, and preschool children and adolescent age between 5 to 18 years, and adults age 18 to 65 years, and older adults who are more than 65 years of age. WHO has also given the condition specific guidelines. These are the guidelines related to pregnancy and lactation, and disease specific guidelines are also there.
What are the general guidelines for all age groups?
WHO says any physical activity is better than none. More physical activity leads to the greater health benefits. Exceeding the minimum recommendation given by the WHO is encouraged. Muscle strengthening activities should be included for the additional benefits. Sedentary time should be minimized. Replacing it with any level of physical activity is beneficial. Reducing sitting time and increase the movement throughout the day.
What are the guidelines for the infants in context to this physical activity?
So, regarding the physical activity, the WHO has said that the infant should be physically active several times a day and it should be interactive floor based play. If not mobile, at least 30 minutes of the tummy time spread throughout the day should be given to the infant. So, for the sedentary behavior, WHO advises to avoid the screen time for the TV, mobile devices and tablets. The infant should not be restrained in the strollers, high chairs or carriers for more than 1 hour at a time. There are also sleep recommendations. 14 to 17 hours of the good quality sleep is recommended for the infants age 0 to 3 months and 12 to 16 hours of the good quality sleep is recommended for the infants age 4 to 11 months.
What are the guidelines for the toddlers and preschool age in context to physical activity?
Recommended activity for the preschool age and toddlers according to WHO, it is at least 180 minutes per day of the various physical activity at any intensity. It also WHO also recommends 60 minutes of moderate to vigorous activity in the preschool children. For the sedentary behavior, WHO again limits the screen time to less than 1 hour per day. WHO also recommend to avoid the prolonged sitting or being restrained for more than 1 hour at a time in toddlers. For sleep recommendation, 11 to 14 hours of the good quality sleep including naps is recommended. For the preschool children, the recommended duration is 10 to 13 hours.
What are the guidelines for children and adolescent, particularly 5 to 17 years of age, in context to the physical activity?
For physical activity, it is recommended to have at least 60 minutes per day of the moderate to vigorous physical activity. It should include the aerobic activity and at least 3 days per week of the muscle and bone strengthening exercise should be there like jumping, climbing and push-up. For the sedentary behavior, it is advised to reduce the recreational screen time and long periods of the sitting.
What are the guidelines for adult in context to the physical activity?
For the physical activity, recommendation is to have the at least 150 to 30 minutes of the moderate intensity aerobic physical activity per week or 75 to 150 minutes of the vigorous intensive activities per week. Strengthening activities like weight training, body weight exercise at least 2 days per week are recommended. For sedentary behavior, it is recommended to reduce the prolonged sitting and break up long sitting periods with a movement.
What are the guidelines for older adults who are more than 65 years of age in context to the physical activity?
For the physical activity, the adults are recommended with a 150 to 300 minutes of the moderate physical activity per week. There should be balance and functional exercises at least 3 times a week to prevent falls. For the sedentary behavior, it is recommended to avoid the excessive sleeping and maintain daily mobility.
What are the guidelines for pregnant women and postpartum women for the physical activity?
For physical activity, there is a recommendation of at least 150 minutes of moderate to intensive activity per week. It is also recommended to incorporate muscle strengthening twice a week. It is also recommended to avoid the activities with a high risk of falling or abdominal trauma, and it is also recommended to incorporate pelvic floor exercises like Kegel exercises to prevent incontinence. For the sedentary behavior, it is recommended to break up the long sitting periods with a movement, example standing, stretching, walking every 30 minutes. Postpartum women should gradually return to activity and avoid excessive sitting to aid the recovery. The prenatal yoga or gentle stretching to improve circulation is also recommended.
What are the guidelines for common conditions in context to the physical activity?
For the physical activity, WHO has a given guidelines for the common conditions like cardiovascular disease, diabetes, cancer survivors. It includes 150 to 300 minute per week of the moderate activity. As well as for the sedentary behavior, it is recommended to reduce the sitting and move every 30 to 60 minutes. For the chronic respiratory diseases, the WHO has recommended light to moderate activity like walking and yoga, and it is also recommended to avoid the long inactivity periods.
What are the various barriers for physical activity?
Barriers for the physical activity can be classified into three types. There are individual barriers. The barriers, they are due to the personal factors such as motivation, negative self perceptions, health conditions, and time constraint. There can be also social barriers like cultural norms, gender norms, social support, and family influence. Environmental barriers like infrastructure deficiency, urbanization, and climate condition can also act as a barrier for the physical activity.
Is there global plan to increase physical activity among the people?
WHO, that is World Health Organization, has given Global Action Plan on Physical Activity 2018 to 2030. There are several comprehensive and multi-sectoral solutions which are proposed to promote the physical activity and reduce the sedentary behavior. Solutions are organized around four key strategic areas like creating active societies, creating active environments, creating active people, and creating active systems.
What are the various measures taken in India to improve the physical activity among the people of India?
There are many measures which are being taken in the India to improve the physical activity. There are measures like Fit India movement, which was launched by the Prime Minister on August 2019 as a nationwide campaign to make a physical fitness a way of life. There is also National Sports Policy 2024 draft under consideration. It emphasizes on inclusivity by promoting the traditional Indian games, Bharatiya Khel, and physical education. Ministry of Education has also guidelines for the higher educational institutions to promote the physical fitness in schools and colleges. Niti Aayog has also taken initiatives like campaign like navigating the new normal and initiatives like LIFE, that is lifestyle for environment. Under Sports Authority of India, there are schemes such as National Sport Talent Contest, site training centers, and community connect programs. Bharatiya Khel initiative introduces the 75 traditional Indian games into the school curriculum. There are also infrastructure and urban planning measures which are being taken like pedestrian friendly infrastructure such as sidewalks, cycling lanes, and safe crossing to promote walking and cycling. There is Khelo India program which is under the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports to nurture the talent and encourage the sports participation from school level onwards. Local health walks, community fitness events, and recreational sports leagues organized by the municipalities and non-governmental organizations are also being promoted.
What are the key takeaway messages for this physical activity?
For physical activity and sedentary habits, key takeaways are to move more and sit less, all movements count, whether it is household chores, active community, walking, and stretching. We should break up the sedentary time, reduce the long sitting period by standing, stretching, and walking. More activity is equal to more benefits. So, exceeding the minimum recommendations has a greater health benefit. Any activity is better than none. So, start any fitness level and gradually increase the intensity. Muscle strengthening matters. Resistance training supports bone density, muscle function, and metabolism.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chetan Bangale, for
Thank,
your time.
thank you, doctor.